For sale. Okay, next up, Peter.
It's going to be a tough thing following that. Hello, for those of you who don't know, I'm known as Pete, the tech guy, Halfador, and Dr.
Hey, excuse me, Ed, please.
Sign this thing.
All right.
Go ahead. I'll wait for you, Lord.
I'm
waiting. All right.
Okay.
Well, for those of you who don't know, my name is Pete, the tech guy, Halfador, and Dr. Scott will travel, which is why I'm wearing a 12-foot scarf on a hot summer day. This is my trademark. This is what I was wearing when I was questioning Donald Trump at 2 press conferences during the presidential campaign. And as you'll notice from the business card in front of you, I was the only reporter to ever be complimented by President Trump for his questions, at the time candidate Trump, because my questions were the only ones directed at him that were set up in order to draw questions and draw hits from my side rather than for him to explain why are you so miserable. I'm here to talk about not my new book, because unfortunately my shipment did not come in. It's called Hail Mary, the Perfect Protestant and Catholic Prayer. I do a radio show on WQTH Catholic Radio. But about an event coming up called Buffet Books and Blather, which is going to be September 9th. And it's going to feature a gentleman named Robert Stacy McCain, who has been a reporter for 35 years. He runs a website called The Other McCain. He calls himself The Other McCain. He's the distant cousin of Senator John McCain, which we all love so dearly. And Stacy has been a conservative reporter for 35 years, writing for the Washington Times, writing for the American Spectator, and on his own site. He does a lot of shoe leather reporting. And there's a lot of reasons to go to this event. I mean, one reason, of course, because there's going to be very good Chinese food at the buffet. One reason, because I'm sponsoring it along with the very good people at the Worcester Tea Party in Granite Rock, who are very good conservatives. And we're going to have a very nice roundtable after Stacy's talk. And you're also going to get a copy of this book. I have one copy of it called Sex Trouble, Essays on Radical Feminism and the War Against Human Nature. This is the first edition. The second edition will be given out there. And the real reason to go, especially since I'm addressing a group that deals with a lot with fiscal conservatism, is because of something I heard said in this room the last time I was in it. And the last time I was in this room was to film and interview my old friend Andrew Breitbart, who spoke at this very venue. And he said a very important statement. And this statement is that politics is downstream from culture. And it's important to you to go to this event and hear Stacy talk about radical feminism and its war against human nature. Because, and I presume all of us here are fiscal conservatives. Fiscal conservatives in blue states and in states like Massachusetts have been sold a lie. A big lie. And because we've been sold a big lie, unless you are over, I'm 54 years old. Unless you are over 65, nobody in this room has living memory of the last time there was a Republican as Speaker of the House of Massachusetts. And the big lie is this. Don't worry about cultural conservatism. It's not worth fighting these people. It's not worth dealing with these people. People are more interested in the fiscal issues. I mean, talk about money, people care about money. Don't talk about religion. Don't talk about same-sex marriage. Don't talk about transgender. Don't talk about any of these things. All you're going to do is lose people. And in one sense, that's true. When I was born, Massachusetts had 16 electoral wards. We now have 11. And we have 11 because we have less people. And we have less people because of something that Chris Christie once said. It's whatever you think of Chris Christie, he gave a speech in New Hampshire that I covered, and I do political reporting on my own, that said one of the wisest things I ever heard. It's that people will look for jobs. Your children are going to look for jobs to support their families. And if they can't find jobs where they are, they're going to go elsewhere. And you're going to become airplane grandparents. And you won't be there for those birthday parties. You won't be there for those your kids' games. And all the little things that culture and life is made out of. So what has happened? What has happened is your natural allies, the social conservatives, have left. And they've left for Texas. And they've left for the South. And they've left for all those red states that are not only conservative socially, but conservative fiscally. Now, why are they conservative fiscally is wrong? Because conservatism, and I always argue that I'm a social and a fiscal conservative, because conservatism is good for everybody. It's good for men, good for women, good for gays, good for straights, good for blacks, good for whites, good for Hispanics, good for everyone. Because it builds responsibility. But part of responsibility, the biggest part of responsibility is truth. And what's been sold to conservatives, especially fiscal conservatives in states like Massachusetts and in states like California, which also has Democratic supermajorities, is that you cannot win with social conservatives. The fact is you can't win without them, because the social conservatives have children, and lots of children. Robert Stacey McCain, who was a friend of mine, he argues about feminism and the war against human nature. And he argues that there's two types of feminism. The feminism that you are told feminism is, that women deserve equality before the law and before God. Feminism didn't bring that message. You know who originated that message? Christianity. Read the letters of St. Paul. It was the most radical bit of feminism. The idea that husbands should love their wives and respect them as God loves the church. Feminism's actual words, the words that are actually being taught to your children, if you are paying $20, $30, $40, or $50,000 a year, are completely different. And my friend Stacey was actually banned from Twitter because he quoted feminist authors from feminist books that he read publicly and asked feminists to refute them. And that's why he was banned. That's why he's on Gab, and I would recommend Gab and also DuckDuckGo for those of you who are upset at Google these days. But the reason why that banning is possible is because people are afraid. And why people are afraid? Because we let the culture war not be fought. We let ourselves be deceived. And because we let ourselves be deceived, we're at a point where Google, a great technological innovator, fired an employee for daring to suggest that women and men are different. And Google said, no, people, and the head of Google said, well, no, we're not worried about this. Yes, we have to fire this man, but we're going to have a speech for him so that we can all talk about this. It was scheduled for yesterday. It was canceled. Do you know why it was canceled? Because the engineers at Google, engineers, mind you, not women's studies majors, not gender studies majors, not socialists, people who study engineering. I'm called the tech guy because my training is computer science. My major was computer science. My first job was at MSD Bedford out of college. Those people said, we cannot participate because we are afraid our names will be leaked out and we will be harassed. And why are the people being afraid of being harassed? Because we've let a minority of people dominate the conversation concerning basic facts, basic truth. You cannot function without truth. And Lawrence, in his talk, addressed that greatly. And I'm going to steal something from what he said, something I was going to ask him. He talked about how freedom makes such a difference. Well, think of Israel versus the Middle East around it. Israel has free markets. Israel allows people to speak. People sometimes say uncomfortable things. Other people come back with different speech. Israel has thrived. The Arab nations around them, the one that Bridget Gabriel escaped from, although I would urge you to come to my event and then attend the ACT stuff later, escape that very thing. The idea of closing the mind, closing the conversation. We are going to close the conversation. And it's not just conservatives who are being targeted. Stacey McCain just yesterday wrote about this. A lesbian feminist on Twitter and on YouTube put out a video. Big feminist, big, anti-conservative. Would not care for me as a conservative Catholic who hosts a radio show called Your Prayer Intentions. Wouldn't care for me at all. She put out a video on YouTube saying, Well, I knew I was a lesbian because I admired the female body. She was attacked as a hater by social justice warriors because she is offending the transgender community. Because just because you have a penis, it doesn't mean you're a woman. And she is being branded a hater. Now, for some of us, there is a bit of amusement in this, the idea of being hoisted on your own petard. But the problem is, once you allow the free speech, this type of people feeds on this stuff. So once you allow free speech to be quelched, you let this lady's free speech be quelched, then it's going to be yours. How many of you feel free to say your opinions? I am a Roman Catholic. I am a believing Roman Catholic. I believe in what the church teaches. In fact, the reason why I wrote my book on the Hail Mary is to give scriptural argument that Protestants should consider saying the prayer, because it's scriptural. But how many of you are afraid of speaking out, or know that if you speak out, you're going to be retaliated against? And you know that this is a basic fact we live in today. And this is true because we've chosen not to make the cultural fight.
Peter, 2 more minutes.
So, that is why, as social conservatives, we should be embraced by fiscal conservatives. Because, remember, all of these people who get these gender studies majors are going to work someplace. They'll get hired by an academia and teach your children. But more importantly, they'll be hired by your cities and towns and be put on the bureaucratic payroll because they support leftist causes. And they will enforce their rules on you, as you already know. So I would urge you to come to our event. It's September 9th. It's Buffet Books in Blather. For one price, you'll get a copy of his book. You'll get the buffet at Tang Dynasty. This is Route 12 in Leominster. There's going to be a roundtable discussion after his presentation with myself, DaTechGuyblog.com, Granite Rock, the premier New Hampshire political blog, the people at the Worcester Tea Party, and Stacey McCain talking about the issues of the week and taking questions. And then there'll be the open bar at the location where Stacey will have 35 years of stories to tell from covering events all over the country. And for those of you who know Stacey, I know at least 1 or 2 of you do, you'll know that he can tell, you provide him with some beers and he'll tell you stories all night. So I would urge you to come, and I urge you to check out my website, DaTechGuyblog.com, DaTechGuyblog.com. My lead story today is about California. Bernie Sanders, this Democrat who ran for the chair of the party, who is calling for a recount because she's claiming that people who were not supposed to vote to stay chair voted. And voted illegally. And I'm sure that this black woman who is a Bernie supporter would love to have had voter ID at that event, but of course it's racist. And just in case anyone ever says that to you and they ask you, well, how do you answer? How isn't voter ID racist? Ask them this question. How many times has your bank been sued for making you show an ID? Banks have the money, and there are plenty of more lawyers who would like it. When I start seeing banks being sued for demanding IDs, then I'll know that voter ID is racist. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I actually called on you folks.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Your question?
Do you have a Facebook page?
I am a Facebook rebel. I refuse to go
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Well,
I am on
wait a
Twitter.
minute.
I am on Gab.
It's a good way to disseminate this, that's the order.
No, I agree, and I'm sure the Worcester Tea Party will be disseminating it, and feel free to disseminate it all over Facebook if you have a Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter, Gab, and YouTube.
Harold.
Yeah, I believe that fiscal issues are social issues because of the ramifications of its misapplication, creating a welfare state. So I always say that fiscal issues are social issues, and I think conservatives should realize that.
I very much agree, and again, it's a question of chasing away our own allies.
Ed?
I think when you go to the social and physical thing, all you need to do is take a look at the Constitution. One nation under God. Now, what's the implication of removing that phrase from the writing? Very simple. Then we can have a pharaoh.
Well, it's been said that if you don't believe in God, you believe in anything. And look at what the Democrats, which should become a secular party, it's my opinion that Democrats were given a moral choice in the Bill Clinton situation. They had a choice between power, or they had a choice between right. And they chose power. And that's how they got to this point where, literally, they became a secular party. And that's where you now have 14 genders, because to tell the truth is a radical act in the Democrat Party. My state rep, my congresswoman, is Nikki Saunders, is retired. You just all heard about it. And I've never voted for her. I've covered her, I've interviewed her, and I'll say this about Nikki Saunders. She never refused a question from me and always treated me fairly. And she would not have called me names for being a Catholic. I can't be sure of that about her replacement. That's one of the reasons why I voted for Donald Trump, and why I would urge you to support him at this time, because imagine what it would be if Hillary Clinton was elected. But that's really the thing.
All right, one more question, Dan.
It's a question, but it's a statement too. I'm glad you said that the Democrats made a decision during the Clinton administration. My friend, all right, was Ted Kennedy's national treasurer. When Bill Clinton was impeached, all right, and it was coming through, Senator Kennedy at the time was in charge of judicial. They said they couldn't. I said, well, let him go and get impeached because he lied before the grand jury, whatever. All right? And that's so, and let Al Gore come in. He says, oh, we don't want him there. He's not going to be.
Dan, what's your question?
But the key there is, that's when I said to him, so you're taking power over people. And that's when I left the Democratic Party. Like I tell a lot of you people when I first come, and I left. That was at that point in time. So I was very glad to hear you say that.
Take a look at the video, and you'll find it on my site in an earlier piece I wrote. Because I've written 1 to 2 pieces a day every day for the last 8 years on my site, along with my magnificent 7 writers. You will see a video, and you can find it on C-SPAN, of Democrats lining up to support Bill Clinton after impeachment. And you'll see quite a few Democrats who are still serving, who are ready to defend him, who would cry sexism if a Republican even did half of what Bill Clinton did.
Alan, do you have a question?
Yes, David Horowitz wrote the book Big Agenda. And I don't know if you're familiar with One American News, which is on the cable network. He was on one of their shows the other night, Tipping Point. And they were talking about the alliance between the leftists and radical Islam. And how they just, even though the leftists are in alliance with Islam, they still throw away homosexuals off rooftops. Can you comment on that?
Yes, I did. I actually wrote a series of pieces a few years ago called The Actual Theme, the Common Theme of the Left. And I would argue the common theme of the left is hatred of Christianity. But I also made a prediction this year, and I'll make it publicly in front of you and in front of your camera, that within 20 years, the Democrat Party is going to throw the transgender and gay folk off of the bus. Because in 20 years, there aren't going to be, the population that's gay has been fairly steady. 2 or 3%, there's people who experiment and such. It's about 2 to 3%. The population that's transgender is even less. But the number of Muslims in this country is growing. And the Tom Hagen math, and this is the reason why they opposed Donald Trump on this point. The Tom Hagen math is going to make the Democrats embrace Islam because they're more interested in power. And the common theme of the left is hatred of Christianity. And that is why Islam is embraced by the left, because Islam is opposed to Christianity. And I would argue that the left hates Christianity more than they love their own civil rights. And you will see people embracing some of these tenets of Islam who you would have never thought would, because it'll mean power, it'll mean influence. And when you don't have children, when you abort your children, when you don't have large families, and your social conservatives have the larger families, you don't have an investment in the future. You're invested in yourself and your own company.
Peter, thank you. Okay, Mike?